And welcome back to Career Build Series, episode number 34. And so we're right here where we left off. Last episode that we actually did a mission. The mission that we left off on was a delivery of a couple injured people to Holt Town. And so here we are with the seaplane. And so what we're going to start off with is returning this seaplane back to the logistics hub, the larger base that we own. And so we'll go ahead and do that. I have a couple ideas what I want to do this episode, so we'll actually kind of figure it out as we go. Alright, so let's try to stay feet dry at all times. Alright, we're making good progress here. So this is just kind of a new RP thing I'm trying to do, is trying to kind of keep it a little bit realistic on like keeping my feet dry, stuff like that. Just for the funsies of it. Let's go ahead and jump in here. We need to start our engines. So our props are in beta. Beta is flat blades, essentially producing no thrust. And so I also turned on the props reverse, and now, as you notice, reverse takes precedence, and we're going backwards, so I'll steer us backwards here. And I'm just going to let us go back for a little bit. I'll shut off beta. All right, and we'll just slowly back out of here. As you can see, we'll just kind of watch it. It'd be nice if would hope in the next game they put in like a cinematic camera, especially for those of us who are doing videos. It is much better if we can have a little bit of a cinematic camera. So in real life you would be going into the wind. As you can see, the wind is very calm here. I'm just going to double check the settings, make sure, yep, override weather's off. So if wind's calm, you can determine to go any way you want. We're actually going to we're going to go a little bit towards the west there, I think. So we'll go ahead and we will take our propellers off of reverse. We want to go to 1 notch of flaps. I am steering with the wrong keys. No wonder I'm not turning. Quickly trying to move my mouse to do that. Alright, well, this would be probably a tough takeoff, but, you know, this short a distance, but in game we're fine. Alright, and we are up. Flaps coming up. We'll go full throttle. Alright, so I actually set this up to be realistic, to have more realistic manifold and RPM. So IRL, your propellers are dictated by RPM, or that's where you view it. I'm not going to go into the detail of how that works, but I'm going to start reducing my propeller pitch. Just trying to look outside as I'm going, and as you can see, the RPMs are going down on my propellers. I'm going to set the autopilot so I don't have to pay attention as much, so I can look in the cockpit a little bit. You know, in real life, you get a better, see how we keep like nosing down. I need to retrim. You know, every time you do a pitch or power setting, you need to retrim. In real life, of course, you can feel the G-forces of getting a little negative or a positive G as you go up or down, so that kind of tells you to look outside a little bit more. So as you can see, so I want to go to max speed. I think that's around, so I'm using the 1 and 2 keys are my forward propeller, and so I'm going to go about 1300 on this one, and this one I need to push forward a little bit. Go about 1300 on this one. So this is how you do it in real life. These are fixed speed props. So, or they're not fixed speed, they're variable speed props. So you're setting or constant speed props is the proper term. Wow, my brain. And so you're setting the speed you want the propellers to go, the RPM in this case. And manifold is essentially showing you, we're already at high temp. Let me bring it back before we overheat here. We're very close to overheat. Alright, so we're cooling. Let me actually, I'm gonna bring the, I don't know why well, I reloaded the save, so that's why we're bumping temperature already. It does have effective cooling, but just like in real life, you do not go full throttle everywhere IRL either. I think a lot of people think, oh, you go full throttle over. You know, in small planes, you do, like a Cessna 172, you'll go full throttle a lot. In a larger aircraft, you do not. You have to reduce your power. Let's go ahead and do nav. Oops, not heading on nav GPS, and I need to actually enter it in. It's going to go to 00 until I enter it in, which 00 is a certain point in the map, like trying to find where 0, 0 is. It's somewhere over here, like right there. You can see the Y coordinates. Y is at like 11, so right there, 0, and then somewhere right around here is 0, 0. Alright, so I'm actually going to... How are we looking at temp? Temp's coming down. And let me see, am I actually moving towards the point? 156. So see how my rudder's not effective enough. I need to increase the rudder component. See how that ball, you say you want to step on the ball. So see how the ball's to my left. So I'm just tapping rudder and I'm stepping on the ball. So we're coming over to our heading here. A little bit hazy in game, but it's hazy in real life too, you know, especially over the water, you know. It's all part of the hydrologic cycle of, you know, water evaporating and going into the air, and so you have more particles in the air, and the particles are refractory, so they're bending the light, and because they're bending the light, you know, it's causing you to, you know, you get light distortion, so you get haze. We should be 12 o'clock right on there. So that, a little bit hard to see. Right there is the island. So I'm going to go ahead and do a notch of flaps. I should be going props full forward. I need to retrim every time I do pitch power configuration change, which was flaps in this case. All right, I need to start bringing my propellers forward, so I'm going to hold 1 and 3 as I try to also not dive like a crazy person. So it gets very busy. So I'm pushing my propellers all the way to the minimum. So this is actually the, if I can remember the name of it, wind turbine island. So that's actually here. So we're headed a little bit south, so we need to head a little bit north. 134, as you can see, I was about 10 degrees off, so we'll fix that. Look at my nav system. There's no way that can be it over there. It should have an island. Is that it? What's my heading currently? Maybe it is. Okay, that is it right over there. Okay, that's it right there. So I'm using my navigation knowledge of, you know, reading that, and it's telling me it's more north, so it's almost directly north. So that's telling me right off the bat, kind of confirming that that's where that is. Let's go full flaps. Every time I make a pitch, power, or configuration change, I need to trim. That's the way it is. IRL, that's the way I've made it in this. I add a lot of drag to my flaps in game, so it's more realistic. And so I have to trim, you know, it'd probably drive a lot of people nuts. They're like, plane's not stable. It's like, plane is realistic. There's a reason why, you know, piloting is a profession, and why, you know, everybody doesn't have a flying car is, there's a lot to know, you know, and so you need to, and so I also make it so that the deck angle here is, you have kind of a, you know, a nose-up attitude. That's how you really would be, so I have that in there as well. That's part of the whole flaps, anti-flaps that I set in there. Alright, so we're going to come down. We want a nice glassy touchdown in this glassy water. There we go. Alright, we're touched down. I'm just going to keep the speed up a little bit here to taxi in fast. And I'm going to shut down the aft engine. And we'll taxi in on 1. This is all just for fuel savings. Especially if you have inline engines, taxiing in on 1 would be a pretty standard procedure to save fuel. And as you see, the aft engine is shutting down, and the forward engine is staying up. And so I'm just going to leave a little bit of a, so I'm leaving a little positive engine power in there. And then when I get to where I want to stop, all I'm going to do is hit the beta, and that's going to flatten out my props, and that will effectively stop us. And beta. Alright, nice. And I'm going to shut off. I'm going to go ahead and do a cleanup. Beacon, nav, strobes are off. Battery. I deselect one of my batteries. Avionics master power is off. So, a little bit of RP in on that. I need to figure a better way to get out of this. I had a staircase in there. It kind of clips you through, so I'm kind of trying to find a better way to do this. I might try a handle on the wing or something. I'm trying to RP this a little bit more. Of course, you know, you wouldn't want to jump through the propeller here, but I can. All right, operation stay dry at all times is in effect. So just my feet get wet on that one, so not too bad. But that was a good little mission coming back from that. I'm enjoying the seaplane. I'm glad that I was very much questioning my thought process. Should it just be a seaplane or should it be an amphibian? And part of it is, as often happens in game, is parts. And so, as it often happens, I just didn't have small enough parts to make it function exactly how I'd like. And so, to put the gear in and to have the body shape that I wanted, wasn't going to really work to have the gear be appropriate. And so, I decided to just make it a seaplane, and at some point I'll make an amphibian as well. You know, I'm trying to make very much purpose-built aircraft this time around. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take stock of our money. So let's look. We have 121,000. That's pretty good. All right. Currently, this is actually today's video. This is March 15th, 2023. And so coming in a couple days, it's going to be Thursday, so it's actually going to be tomorrow, we have the oil update coming out. And so I have no clue what this is going to hold, but I think a lot of people make a big deal out of having to redo their save worlds, and actually in this game, compared to a lot of games, it's actually not all that bad. What you can do is you can record your seed. I'll go over this. If people are needing to make new saves, which I would say you're going to. We're gonna have new static wellheads, and like with most games, when they do a world change, you need a new save. Some people are acting as though this is inherent to this game and this is something new and absurd. And I understand it's a small number of people, but they certainly deserve some recognition and somebody talking to them as well. So games like, for example, 7 Days to Die, when they would make a big world change, add a new biome, you'd need to start a new save. Games from Escape from Tarkov, they have a wipe every about 6 months, and it's seen as a positive thing because you get to, it might get stale. Me starting over the career build series breathed new life into my game, so you can look at it as a negative and you can let it bother you, or you can take a couple steps that are actually pretty easy to restart your world, and it's not a big deal. For example, you can change your money in the XML file and give yourself the money back. You can put in the same seed and all the islands will be in the same place. For example, if we had bought this island and put a custom base there, it's the actual facility you're putting on there is saved. You can just load it in. It's not a big deal. And so I think this is actually one of the games that, I can be back up and running and have a new save. I've already done it, I think, 3 times. There was a lag issue. I think it's gone. I haven't experienced it. I think they introduced some sort of memory leak in there, or it was because the missions were overlapping. I'm not 100% sure, but I haven't had it. And so I don't have conclusive evidence on what it is, but I'm thinking it was something to do with too many missions spawning. But this game, within 10 minutes, I'll be back to able to have a new world. For example, I'll teleport around. Again, I'm a huge advocate for the custom menu. Put in the custom menu, I'll teleport to the bases we already own, rebuy them, and then I know that I need 121,057, and I go in the notepad and edit the XML and put that in, and guess what? Within 10 minutes, I have my world back. So it's not a huge problem, in my opinion, to have to restart. But I likely will have to. And so on that topic of restarting, one of the things we have to consider with potentially having to restart the world tomorrow is that we're not going to have enough money to enjoy this new oil update. And so what I want to do is I want to get a bunch of cash. We can always, there's plenty of things we need to spend. And this goes into the topic of, I keep seeing it constantly on the discussions. People like, there's no objective, or there's nothing to do, or it's boring. And I think, and I understand it. A lot of people want that narrative, but create your own narratives. And so, we need money for an island to have our own home base. We need money for more ships and more airplanes and more ground vehicles, and to expand what we do in game. We need a lot of money for this new update that I'm super excited about. So, money is going to be one of the keys to this. And having too much money, that's when I find it boring. Is I can have whatever I want, and then there's no motivation. Well, we don't own much right now. We own beginner base. We own here. I would like to get the other beginner base at least. I would, or nuke plant. I would like to buy these. I'd like to buy that. All of these. I want to buy this to build my own island. So there's plenty for us to buy. So I think getting a bunch of cash right now is actually probably the right thing to do. So let's go ahead in here. First thing let's do is let's do a quick save. All right. And so we have one of them saved. And let's go ahead and find that barge I was working on. So here's the barge. It has this crane. I'm not going to use the crane version. Actually, trying to think, do I use this crane version or not right now? Let's keep it. Yeah, let's keep it. Right, let's keep it for now. Let's actually edit this. I'm going to redress the crane, but that will remind me to do it at some point. I was going to go back to the old barge, but you know what? We'll just we'll work with this later. Currently, we don't have any electricity, so we're not going to be able to use this crane right now anyway. But let's kind of try to see where the decking is. All right, so let's go ahead and do some paint here. And so what I want to do is I think we're going to go and start doing an oil run. Not an oil run. Probably end up being a diesel run. We just need a little bit of money. I also need diesel for the base. I want to make sure we have ample diesel so that when this content comes out, I want to be able to go out there and do it. Now, we're probably likely going to lose a bunch of our ability to just freely go and get a ton of diesel. We're going to have to make it, which I'm all for. I understand a lot of people don't like that. They're not into the industrial gameplay, but it is part of the game. It's a sandbox game. It's one of the elements of a sandbox game. A lot of people have been acting as though this is some foreign concept, that games have not been doing this for, you know, the almost 40 years that I've been playing games. You know, this is something that sandbox games have done for a long time, is you have a sandbox and they give you a couple toys and you use your imagination to come up with stories. You know, that's pretty normal. They've been doing that in games for a long time, as long as I've been playing. And so this is kind of normal too, is, you know, they give us the sandbox. The greatest strength of this game is the building aspect of it. Is the build editor is one of the best. I'm gonna try bucketing. I hate bucketing, but yeah, see, like it's doing that already, which I loathe. We'll try to bucket some of it, but it's being obnoxious already. Painting stuff I don't want. And so, let me see. Let's do some numbers really quick. I'm not thrilled with painting right now. Let me see. All right, let's just take this one. This one's all set to go. This is our barge from last time. I'm just going to take this. And so what I want to do is I want to get some money in the game. The likelihood is if I put a bunch of... I'm just looking really quick at something. If I put... Okay, so we want to make sure that's 0. I don't want to spawn any diesel in here. All right, let's go ahead and save that. The likelihood is that if we have to start a new save file, we're not going to have any diesel in our benches anyway. It's not a big deal, but something to consider. But the money I'm going to port over. And so I don't like cheating myself the money in. Like, I'll do it every once in a while. Like, when I started this save, I added some extra money just so that we could kind of start with a little bit of a better boat, not have to make a, you know, the real beginner boat. We could actually make kind of an intermediary boat or ship or whatever you want to call it. All right, and so likelihood is we're going to lose all the fuel we have in here, so we're not going to move too much of any fuel. I'm going to probably not bring back any, but I'm going to make the money, and then once I've made the money, I can feel secure in porting that money back over when we have to inevitably start a new game, which a new save file, which I'm not opposed to. You know, I listed off a bunch of games that every time, you know, they do a big change, you have to start a new save file, and it's not absurd, I don't think. You know, it's, you know, you have to kind of, you have to count the pluses and minuses, and the pluses are that you are getting big changes to the game, which I think are positive. You're getting some big additions to the game. And with that, you have to start a new save, and I don't think it's the end of the world. I can understand some frustration on people's parts, but literally this game is one of the most convenient to essentially bring your world back to where it was. The XML is super easy. I've done tutorials on it. The XML is super easy on being able to edit, to bring your money, so you're not actually losing any money. It's easy to teleport around with the custom menu on, to be able to buy the bases that you should by all right own already. And so it's actually really pretty convenient to be able to do that stuff, so I don't see a huge deal with it personally. Alright, so here we are. Let's go ahead. What do we want on that? Let's go, I don't know, 60-meter cable length. Let's put on our tow light. So there's our tow light. So we are, in fact, towing. I'm going to go about 60. I think there's 60. Okay, so there's about 60 meters of tow length. And as you see, our tugboat is towing quite beautifully here. So we'll go full throttle. And it's trying to pull me. That's one of the things that's good for an autopilot, is the barge itself is trying to dictate where I go here. And so let me quickly put in a waypoint. So I want to go under the bridge. There's a bridge right here. Alright, let's go select bearing on autopilot. There we go. Okay, that's going. Let's get a quick screen on the way out. Alright, and it looks like we have a little bit of weather coming in. Alright, so we're all set to go here. We should be there in 20 minutes, so not bad. So we're going to head up here. We're going to go under the big bridge. I'm sick of going under the legs of... I really hate these railways over the water. I really just do. But as you can see here, if we zoom way in, there's our bridge. I should probably put it about... Let's put it right here. I should be able to go under it. And so there's our bridge, and so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go up here, and then we're going to come down, and we're going to buy diesel. Diesel's a pretty good price here, 35 cents. We're then going to take the barge up here to Sawyer South. We only have 40 grand that we can buy in diesel. That's 65. So we're talking 30 cents approximately of profit. Let's see what we can buy. So it'll be 40,000 divided by 0.35. So we should be able to take on 114,000 liters. And if we multiply that by 0.3, that's going to give us 34,000 in cash. So we'll be up to about 150 something cash. I think that'll put us in a better starting place, so that when we actually start getting into the oil update, that we'll be able to operate a little bit more freely. You know, if we don't have enough money, we're not going to be able to do much in this new oil update. So I want to make sure we have ample amounts of cash to be able to actually do something. So, but I will see you when we get there. Alright, so we are here just to the south, and we're going to start making our way up there. So let's go ahead and we'll disconnect the autopilot. Start powering up. Start dragging this in as well. nice sunshiny day here in the game. Alright, and we'll stop that coming in. I believe the diesel, yep, diesel's the center one. And I think we're just going to drag it straight in. It's going to be the best way to do it. What I'm going to do is I often do this. I'll shut off vehicle damage when we go in there, and that is because, you know, we don't have the benefit of fenders and things that we'd really have to protect us. One thing I would like them to do with this new update is change fluid flow rates. I don't know if it's limited by the pipe or what. I know they reduced them. You know, I did a little bit of testing where, you know, running an impeller, running a large electric pump or a small electric pump, they're all essentially pumping the same amount, and it's not really enough, and it makes things difficult, like cooling and everything else. I think it would be something easy for them to do, especially, you know, make the small and the medium, or make the large and the small have different flow rates. Also, I'd like them to give us a 1x1 pump would be nice. That would really help with some compact builds. And also, one thing I think they really could do is make it so the impeller pumps can pump an absolute boatload of liquid. And the benefit with that is you could use a diesel or whatever engine you wanted to and gear it up, and then use a large or a small impeller and really be able to move huge quantities of liquid. I think at the end of the day, it's always beneficial if we can kind of decide how we want to play. And so, like, if you want to make a really ridiculously high-level pump, you know, let us do that, you know. And I think right now, I get the whole notion to artificially limit some of them. That's fine for things like cooling, but also, like, you know, I think by letting us have the opportunity to do it how we want, it lets us do things like fantasy build and stuff like that that I think is beneficial. So I can't do that while I go this way. You know, so I would personally, I would at least make it so the impeller pumps you could utilize for, you know, I make it so that the impeller pumps can be hooked to something like a diesel. You could gear it up. You could put like, theoretically, you could have a huge diesel with a lot of gearing and really get the RPS going on that impeller and make it, you know, pump massive quantities of fuel. Now, let's see, 100. All right, so I did the math here. Let me figure it out. So what do we have left on money here? We had about 40 grand, so 40,000 divided by 0.35. So that's about 114,000. So what did I put in here? So I put 100,000. So that will leave us with a little bit of extra cash hanging around. As you can see, we already have 2,300 in here. I'll do a little notation of the time, and we'll see how long this takes to fill. And I will get back to you guys when that is. And I'll kind of give you a notion of how long this is taking to fill. Okay, and welcome back. So we are full. We have 114,000. I wasn't Johnny on the spot on getting that, but it took less than 20 minutes to put 114,000 liters in. So let's go ahead and I will just no clip up there. And I'll put these lines away and we'll get moving. And so, you know, using these small value commodities, like in this case, we're running diesel. It's a good way to do it when you're starting out. You know, you can't, you know, everybody's like, you know, let's go do jet fuel, let's go do jet fuel. That's actually not too bad if you have a really tiny little tanker or, you know, capacity. But let's see, do I have one in the back? I don't. I'm just trying to check the width here, see if I can spin this around. I'm going to try to see if I can have to push this out or spin it around. I could probably spin it around, but the fear is that I get this stuck. So let's go ahead and grab the cable. Let's hook it here. Let's push this out. All right, so one of the reasons why I was going to initially just I left the engines on. I was initially going to push it out backwards, but we'll go forward just so I can see it a little bit better. I need to figure out why it's stalling in reverse like that. It stalls in the reverse transition. Need to be a little bit slower in my changes of maneuvering here. We're gonna maneuver this barge out. See, it stalls only in reverse, so I have to figure out what's up with that. I keep meaning to fix it, and I don't. Again, there's another reason why I shut off damage when I'm close to a dock is you'd have fenders, you'd be able to push it off things and have not any issues, and so I just shut it off to more replicate real life, you know, how this would really be. Yeah, so we're just gonna push this barge around here. And we'll go third person so you can see it. As you can see, just repositioning the barge so we can get out of here. Alright, we're gonna spin around so I can reconnect it here. Alright. And let's get moving. So this will give us a nice little chunk of change. It's not an enormous amount, but it's a good amount to be able to go so that when we start the new major update tomorrow, that we'll have some cash, because, you know, one of the fears was we get this new cool major update and can't really play with it too much because we don't have any cash to, and so I want to make sure I remedied that and made sure we have plenty of cash. The tugboat's working really well. The re-gearing was a success. Alright, so we're full of diesel. We're going to head up here to Sawyer South where we can sell diesel. And like I said, that should net us, I think, like 34 grand, something like that. Alright. So hopefully we avoid all islands. What is this island here is the question. Oh, that is Coast Guard TT outpost. So hopefully we make it right in with past the lighthouse and head up here to see. We're down to 14 bucks. And so what's that going to take us? 20 minutes, so not too long. So I will go ahead and we'll time-lapse this out again. And we'll head in there and we'll sell this diesel, and then we'll be in a much better position for when the new content drops. Alright, so here we are at Sawyer South. We need to get over there, so let's go ahead and I'm going to start dragging this in a little bit. We will shut off the AP. Just keeping an eye on my cable length here. So I'm just going to go up on one screw. Actually, I think I'll make it the port screw. Just trying to stay consistent with which one I operate here. Alright, so by operating on one screw, I can really slowly operate this. You know, if I'm running on both screws, it will give me more power than I want. So with 2 engines, I can decide I want 1. So you see how I'm kind of like zigzagging here? I'm just trying to keep this barge under control. So you see I'm just kind of rotating and pivoting around it. So I'm kind of like sidewinding, just kind of, you know, gently pulling this forward here. And so as I turn, I'm kind of dragging it towards me, so I'm just like gently pulling it. Alright, so now my azopod's a full 90-degree lock. I'm going to turn 90. Alright. Then I'm going to center up both azopods. Starboard azopod's going about 20 degrees to the right. I'm going to gently tap up on port and down on starboard. So I'm just clicking them. That's going to give me precise control. And you'll see here that they start to power up shortly. There we go. And so I'm going to steer with port. And as you can see, we're pulling sideways, so this is side translation here. Alright, now I'm going to start winching in. Okay, I pulled the rope in too much. Let's let out just a hair. Alright, there we go. Alright, let's do some more side translation here. So I'm pulling sideways. As you can see, we're just dragging it in sideways here. Alright, and I just centered it up, or I zeroed out the motors. So now, the reason I'm doing this, let's look at the wind. So we have to consider the wind here. If we look, the wind is blowing from, I don't know, oh my god, camera. Let's go into this camera, make it a little easier. Sorry, camera's being a pain. Alright, so let's look at the wind here. So you can see the wind's blowing us from this side, blowing the barge from this side, and watch exactly what it's going to do. I've sandwiched the tug in between so I can control it. The wind is going to push the barge up against the dock here. So I was initially going to go on the end there. What would happen is the wind would try to, and the current would try to push the barge away. By going on this side, it's going to eventually push this up against the side probably. And I'm sitting right here, so I can control the barge as need be. We're still cabled to it, so as it pushes over to there, I can rotate it as necessary. So it's important to consider the wind. Alright, so let's go ahead here, and hopefully I have enough range to do this here. So pumps on. And I'll take note of the time again. I want to make sure I can jump to this. As long as I can get to the tugboat first, I think we're good here. We might be a little bit far away to get on there. Yeah, we might be. I do have, see, the problem is we have that 40-meter limit here. But I do have staircases here, so I'm trying to get one here. Or ladders, staircases, ladders, whatever they're called. I'm trying to get close enough to the ladder to grab it. There we go. Okay, and then I have a button here. This is another reason why at the beginning of the episode I didn't want to reinvent the wheel and build a new barge. This one works well. Let's go ahead and check. As you can see, we are losing liquid. We're gaining money, so we're good. All right, so let's see. All right, so what I'm going to do here is now we are connected with the hose to this barge. I'm going to disconnect the anchor. Let's cozy this up a little bit. And again, I'm going to check, make sure damage is off. I don't want to accidentally damage it because of a game mechanic and not because of reality. Alright, so now I'm gonna push this barge up against the pier. And I'm gonna zero them. And what I'm gonna do is just use the port azopod. Again, that's just to give me a little bit slower control, so I, don't have as much power pushing it. There we go, and you can see in third person. Okay, there we go. So I've kind of got the barge, as you can see, pushed a little bit. Now what I want to do is I'm going to move this port azopod all the way 90 degrees to the other side, and I'm going to go in reverse. So I'm tapping it in reverse. There it goes. You can see it's starting to come to life there. Oh, I did the wrong way. I didn't mean to go reverse. I meant to go forward. We'll do it a different way. That was me screwing up. I meant to go forward, and I went in reverse. So let's actually, let's translate sideways. So we want to go right about 20 degrees with the starboard. Let's go forward on port and reverse and starboard. And we can watch it here. As you can see, we can go sideways. This is why I like azopods. You see the cool maneuvering we can do with that. And so I'm just steering with my port azopod and zero them. And there we are. We're docked up. All right, nice. So we're all docked up here. And so I'm just going to grab, I had a spare rope. Oh, when I reloaded this, it got rid of the spare rope. So this is now pushed up against the side here. This should be much easier to connect. So just a little bit of maneuvering there. That's what I love about these azopods is they're just so maneuverable and you can do really cool things with them. And for me, the vehicle operation has always been what I've always done, pilot and truck operation and airplane and boats and everything else. So that's the part that I really like the most about this game is, I can build vehicles as complicated as I want, and they actually perform pretty realistically. A little bit of changes here and there, but it's pretty realistic. And so, when people want to automate everything and then they say they get bored, it's like, dude, try operating some of it yourself and manual and learning how to operate these things. That, for me, is a lot of fun. I understand not everybody's like that, but that's a good way that if you're getting bored, try making your vehicles where you actually have to operate them yourself. I think you might find them fun. All right, so we're actually about, my time, just about an hour after we filled it. So we'll see how long this takes to empty. All right, so back here, as usual, unloading takes a considerable amount of time, more than loading. Really, we're not pumping all that high, as you can see, right up to there. But it takes a considerable amount of time. I wasn't exactly Johnny on the spot with checking it, but we're talking, it was at least an hour and a half to unload. This is one of the reasons why I said, let us have impellers that we can hook up to diesel motors and have super duper pumps. Let us build and engineer a solution around it. Now, I don't know if the devs made it so the pipes are the constriction, which would make sense because a pipe can only take so much flow for its diameter. As you decrease diameter, you slow speed and you increase pressure. So you'd have greater pressure, but you'd have lower flow rate. And so, another thing that I would love to see is larger diameter pipes. That would be kind of cool if we could put in larger diameter pipes for emptying. I hope that comes with this update. I'm not going to make too big of a deal about it because we don't know what's in this update yet. But we're unloaded. But like I said, it took like an hour and a half to empty. It took about 20 minutes to fill. I think that's a little excessive for something this size. Because we're restricted to these 3 hoses here, so we can't go any more than that. So what I would like to see is, I talked about this earlier in the video, which for me it's many hours later, but I talked about how I think that we should have a 1x1 pump that's very tiny, has a low flow rate, maybe 25 liters per second, but it only takes up 1 block. And then we have currently the small pump, which is 3 blocks. And then we have the large, which is, I don't know what the large takes. What is it? Really a 3x2, something like that? That should be a higher flow rate. And then we have the 2 impellers, small impeller and large impeller. Those should be variable based on the gear ratios of whatever you're hooking it up to. And as you can see, the tugboat actually drifted quite a bit. But, I would like to see that. I would like to see us able to control the flow rates. I'm very hopeful with this new major update coming out, but I think the devs need to kind of They need to clean up some of the issues at the game as well, and I hope they do. I'm not going to talk too much about it because at this time we don't have it. I don't have the update yet, so I don't know what's in it. But I'm hoping that especially with doing all this fluid transfer, it would make sense for them to make it so that we can have increased rates and more controllability of our flow rates. So I'm hoping that comes. We'll see tomorrow if it does or not. I think if they don't do it, it's a missed opportunity. So I hope you guys enjoy that. We have a lot of money now. Let's quickly check. Not a lot of money, but we have 72, 244. And so I'm just going to save it here, and the next run will be heading back. I might do it off screen. I might not do it off screen. Hope you guys enjoyed. Kind of a taste of what's to come with this new oil mechanic. As you can see, we're going to be able to do these transfers. This barge works well. I was going to build a bespoke new barge, but this one works well. We have the other one shelled out in case I want to work on that, but this one is pretty purpose-built and works well, and so I thought it was better than starting over new. And so I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next one.